Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lindsay and this is Waldorf Inspired Roots. In today's video, I'm going to share my son's high school geology main lesson block and all the amazing curriculum choices and resources that I found when I was putting it together. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and I would love to hear comments and feedback down in the comment section below. The first thing that I want to share with you today is the main curriculum choice that we'll be using for this main lesson block, and it is Geology K-8 Science Unit Study, and it is by The Good and the Beautiful, and I will link them below in the description box. And so we have used The Good and the Beautiful Science Unit Studies for most of our science units since we began homeschooling. It was one of the first curriculums that we found, and we have discovered that we absolutely love their science unit studies. We've also used The Good and the Beautiful for some other subjects, and all of their curriculum options and subjects are beautiful. The name is very fitting, but they're wonderful. But there are some that we've found don't necessarily work for us, and others that have continued to work for us wonderfully. All of their science unit studies are ones that in particular work wonderfully for our needs for homeschool. Now, even though my son is in high school, and this technically says K-8, all of their unit studies are very easily modifiable to accommodate older kids. And so I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And so when you order their curriculum, you have the option to order a printed copy that they will send to you. And when you order a printed copy, you will get a link to be able to also have a PDF where you can print it, or you can just purchase the PDF. And the PDF, if you just do that route, is typically cheaper. I, for one, have done it both ways, but I do like having the printed copy and the PDF because the images that they send are better quality than we typically have our printer settings set to, and the paper's nicer and their ink is nicer and just nicer than what we typically have in our printer. So I just go ahead and do that. And now some of their subjects come spiral bound. I know we use their handwriting for my son's morning basket, and that is spiral bound. Some of their history comes bound differently, but their science units, we have had a couple that have come bound, if I'm not mistaken, and then we've had some that come, I guess you would call it loose leaf, and this is one of them. And so when it came shrink wrapped, and it was just loose, and so I just went ahead and 3-hole punched it, and we put it in a 3-ring binder, and it worked out fine. Now, the first thing that you'll find in this book is the unit information, and then they will talk about read aloud, book pack, and correlated books. They do have books that you can order separately, or I believe they also have bundles to where you can, order books specifically for, that relate to this. And then it says grades 7 to 8 lesson extension information. They do have a whole, each lesson has like lesson extensions for grades 7 and 8, but those also work for older grades as well. And then we also do some of our own lesson extensions to make it a high school unit study. But then there's a section about supplies needed, and then there are the vocabulary science wall cards, and then it goes into the lessons. And I'm just going to go through these quickly just so that you have an idea of what is in here. But it has Introduction to Geology and Earth's Composition, Plate Tectonics, Volcanoes, Magma and Lava, Volcanoes, Types and Eruptions, Earthquakes, Minerals, Crystals, Gems and Geodes, rock characteristics, igneous rock, sedimentary rock, metamorphic rock, the rock cycle, Earth's processes, soil, mountains, and other landforms. And that's all. So that's where it would end. In the unit information, they first talk about the science journal. All of their units recommend keeping a science journal, and it tells you how to do that, and they recommend a 3-ring binder that's 1 inch to 2 inch, and it'll explain, how to set that up if you want to incorporate that. And then they have the science wall, and that will include the vocabulary cards, and we arrange them in a very, I try to arrange them in a way that is very aesthetically pleasing, and sometimes I'll add pictures that I get from, magazines or off the internet that I print, or posters that I find, or things like that, just to kind of make our science wall or our main lesson wall. I do this for every main lesson block, but just to kind of make it have something of a theme, and to help give inspiration throughout the unit. So the next thing, the scissors symbol is where it will talk about lesson preparation, and it gives you really easy to follow lesson prep directions. And there are some lesson mini books, and so that the symbol will be in there for that as well. Experiment video recordings. So on goodandbeautiful.com /science videos, there are experiment video recordings, and so you can find videos that correlate to certain lessons. There are also unit videos. Those are found in the same place. Older children content, so some of the lessons include extra content that is more applicable for older children, grades 5 to 8. Rocks and minerals kit, which we did also purchase. We purchased the bundle that included both. So before we move on, I do want to just say this unit, and a lot of their units, as you can see here, it says it's for K to 8, and a lot of their science unit studies are for grades K to 8, and they do a really good job at incorporating things that will be excellent at teaching all the grades from K to 8. And like I said, for us, it is pretty easy to bring in a few extra things to expand it even further than the amazing job that they already do, just to make it more on a high school level. And we will be doing some field trips and things like that to even bring in more things to expand it. But they do a really great job at incorporating all of the grades. So if you are teaching more than one grade level, which a lot of parents who homeschool are typically homeschooling, multiple kids in multiple, grade levels and age ranges. So they do a really good job to where you could teach to all of your kids all at once, and they'll all get different things from it based on where they're at. And so we love it for that reason. And, we've used this in our co-op that my son is part of, and the age ranges for those kids are from kindergarten all the way up to high school. So, and this has worked for all the different age groups. So let me move to the next part. Optional read aloud book pack. You can go ahead and purchase some of the correlated books. They usually have a book pack that goes with that. And in this one in particular, they have The World Beneath My Feet by Ileana Board. And they also have Rocks and Minerals Study, The Good and the Beautiful Rock and Mineral Study book by Molly Sanchez. The Good and the Beautiful Library has several books that correlate with this unit. It can be a wonderful experience for children to read books on their levels related to the subjects they are learning in science. These books are both fiction and nonfiction and are organized according to reading level. Find the correlated books at goodandbeautiful.com on the Geology Science Unit product page. So this says that there are other books that they recommend for the different age ranges, fiction and nonfiction, that correlate with this. We did not go ahead and pick those up because we already had some, and I will show you which ones we already have. So this talks about grades 7 to 8 lesson extensions. We will be using this very extensively, and then even extending these actually to be more on a high school level. But this is how their lesson extensions work. Each lesson has, like, it'll have an optional little section that is for grades 7 to 8. And you know, so if you have older kids, you can choose to do that. It talks about the answer key for grades 7 to 8. Lesson extensions can be found on thegoodandthebeautiful.com/science, and then clicking on the geology unit. So there is an answer key to the extensions work. It says the amount of time it will take to complete each lesson extension will vary for each child. The average time is about 10 to 15 minutes. So we find that each lesson takes, you know, anywhere from an hour to, you know, maybe a little bit longer for us, but this is our main lesson time. So in case you haven't seen any of my other videos, for an hour to an hour and a half in the mornings, my son does a morning basket or a daily basket, and it has a little bit of all the subjects, things he's already learned, or expansions on things he's already learned, so that he can keep up with everything and keep everything fresh that he's already learned. But we do a Waldorf Inspired homeschool, and so in the afternoons we do anywhere between 1 to 3 hours of, usually a little longer because we incorporate a lot of the experiments or extra activities and things like that. So for us, it typically is about, on average, 2 hours to 2.5 hours that he will do his main lesson, and we do one main lesson for a period of 3 to 6 weeks. And if the lesson needs longer than that, then we would break it up into and have more than one main lesson spread out throughout the year for that subject. This subject in particular is going to be 1 4-week, I believe it's a 4-week, it could be a 5 though, but I'm pretty sure it's 4 weeks for this main lesson block. So yes, and it does talk again about the science journal. They explain how to make it more in-depth or deeper thinking for the older grades for that science journal. It does also talk about note-taking, and then it also has optional grade 7 to 8 reading book. And this one is Caves, the Underground Wilderness by Anthony Clem. We did not pick that book up yet either. However, I am still debating. I may pick this up as just an additional reading book for that. The next part that I want to show you talks about the supplies needed. Now, I love that all of their unit studies are so thorough at making sure that you have in one place all the supplies are listed here. And most of the supplies for their unit studies are things that you probably already have at home, or things that there may be a few things that you may have to get. Now, so there's activities, and then there's also experiments. And so you'll see the different supplies depending on if it's an activity or if it's an experiment. And one of the things that I do want to point out, I just happened to glance and see. So The Good and the Beautiful is it's a Christian company, and so they do occasionally refer to, you know, this one in particular says Bible with these verses ready to read, and so it talks about that. And so throughout all of their you know, curriculum options, they do refer to the Bible and God and things like that on occasion. It's not the main focus, I would say, but it is definitely referenced. And so if you, depending on what your beliefs are, this may or may not, you know, work for your family. But definitely look into it before you purchase this, just because it is a Christian curriculum option. So that's more on supplies. And now this is the vocabulary word cards that you would put on the wall. We kind of try to decorate ours and make it special. It's kind of our fun thing to do before the next unit, or before each, you know, next main lesson block starts. So we have quite a few of the vocab words. Now when we get to lesson 1, the way that they work it, they will tell you the objective, the preparation, all of the supplies needed for the activity or the experiment. It will have an opening activity, and then it has a section to read, and then it will talk about your vocab words for your science wall, and it talks about those words and explains, you know, information about that. And then there's an activity called Earth Layers, and there's things to read, things to demonstrate, and things to do, and a video to watch. And then it says display the image Earth's structure to use as an aid and ask the children these video review questions. And so there's a bunch of questions for that. There's more science wall things. And then it talks about the science journal, Layers of the Earth. And then these, at some point in the lesson, these are the extra resources. And so somewhere it would have said, you know, look at the, you know, images on this page, or it will refer to, you know, certain pages for the diagrams or, you know, whatnot. And then we've got a worksheet here. This you can also print from the PDF if you didn't want to use this copy, or you can, you know, photocopy it to make more if you wanted more. This one in particular is for grades K to 3. This is for grades 4 to 6. And then there are answer keys for both. Now I would use this one for my older son, and then we would possibly expand on this a little bit more. You know, I would just kind of go through and see how I could expand on that. And then this is the extension. And so we may just do the one worksheet because the extension looks like it kind of covers some of those aspects as well. And so we would do that and this. And so it tells the instructions, it talks about the Earth's structure. There's a whole bunch of, it looks like extra vocabulary words and a little diagram here. Yeah, and so, you know, that is how you would expand on that for that one. Now, each of the lessons are set up the same way, and then so they'll have the lesson and then all of the reference or resource you know, pages or worksheets will be at the end, and it will tell you as you're going through the lesson which page to refer to for that. But as you can see, they do a really good job with their pictures and illustrations and things like that. So I am just going to flip through really quick just to kind of show you some more of the inside of this. So as you can see, there's quite a bit here. Lots of illustrations. There's a lot here, a lot of information. So the rock and mineral kit that, you know, you can get the curriculum itself, or you can do the combo where you can get the rocks and minerals kit. And then I believe there was a third, you know, bulk buy combo where you could get the curriculum, the rocks and minerals, and the extra books, or you could pull in some of the extra books. And as I said, we didn't do the extra books, but I did do the combo of these. So the rocks and minerals that come in here are here. We've got talc, gypsum, chalcopyrite, I believe is how you say that. Fluorite, quartz, aquamarine, granite, limestone, and slate. And then we also have, it looks like a copper nail, a little, you know, rubbing stone, and then I don't know what this one is, if it's iron or stainless steel or whatnot, but it's got different hardness levels of metal, I believe, to test some of the hardness of the rocks. And then we've got the stone for the same purpose. I would assume that's what we're going to be doing with those. So that is part of that. Now, the other things that I'm going to show you are some of the extra resource books that I picked up. The first one is Geology for Kids. It is by Megan Vestal. This I got from Amazon. The next couple things I got from Amazon, so I will link those below. So this is a junior scientist guide to rocks, minerals, and the earth beneath our feet. So in the contents of this, we have Earth, digging deep on the surface, volcanoes, earthquakes, and more, Earth's water, rocks and minerals, a guide for rock hounds, and then it says the adventure continues, and then we have the index. And so I'm just going to flip through, but it really has, it says, what is geology? The birth of the earth, an ever-changing planet. So there are, it talks about moving plates. So, I mean, it's got very nice pictures. It seems to be very good quality, and there also seems to be quite a lot of information. And then throughout the book, there are also these pages, and it's actually an experiment or an activity in here. So this is volcano in a bowl. It tells you what you need, what to do, and so you can do the experiment that way. And so I love that. And I don't remember exactly how many there are, but there are quite a few. There's another one called Glacial Movements. So like every so often you'll see those. And I do like that, you know, there's some extra things that we can do, you know, from here to pull in to our main lesson block. And so that is what that looks like. Now, the next thing that I picked up is Everything Rocks and Minerals, Dazzling Gems of Photos and Info That Will Rock Your World. This is by National Geographic Kids. It's by Steve Tomekic, I believe. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. But the illustrations in here are fantastic, absolutely beautiful. There's not as much information, but there's still quite a bit. And again, we will, you know, reference this wherever wherever something will fit. Now, prior to us actually starting this unit, I will go through, I'm a post-it note queen, and I will go through and post-it note. In our curriculum, I will have a post-it note that will tell me where to reference if I want to pull something into the unit. And so, and then the post-it note in here will tell me where in the unit I wanted to use it. And so I can reference from both to easily find, you know, what we were wanting to use for the different lessons. And so we will reference this wherever it fits. So this is some of the photos. They are, as you can see, they're so detailed that they're quite spectacular. So there's that. And then the next book is Smithsonian Geography, a Visual Encyclopedia. So this book is, it talks about several things, but I did notice that the entire, I mean, the first half, I'd say, of this book is something that we can use for this unit. We've got the planet Earth, so it talks about how the Earth was formed, the moon, scarred surface, inside our planet, magnetic Earth, the Earth's crust, impact craters, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes. All of these things are things that we're going to talk about in the unit, so these will all pertain. And then we've got rocks and minerals, which literally everything from that first part. And then we've got the water cycle, rivers and valleys, glaciers and ice sheets. Again, all of this we'll be able to use. And then it does go into climate and weather. We may or may not reference some of these things when we're talking about how, for example, tornadoes or hurricanes or storms or rain, and how those things change the surface of the earth. So, I mean, we'll see where those fit in, but at least the first the first three sections for sure pertain to this unit entirely. And so the rest we'll just see if there's things that fit. But I am just going to flip through. We love books that have amazing photos and illustrations and things like that. So, and this book does not disappoint with amazing photography and diagrams and illustrations. So here's just some of those. And I'm going to go through the back part of this book just so that you can see, even though parts of it we may or may not even get to, because parts of it may not even, in the back, might not even really correspond too much to what we're doing, but I'm sure that there are plenty of things that will. So there's that. The very last thing that I just wanted to show you is from the National Geographic. It's a STEM game or activity. It's Rock and Mineral Game Set. I'm kind of excited about this. I try to pull in games into every unit, and the way that we use games typically, games, picture books, read alouds, things like that are usually our openers. So at the beginning of our main lesson time, we will oftentimes open with something fun. This, I was really excited because it doesn't just have one game. It has quite a bit of games in here, and I'm going to get them out and show you. So we have Rock Bingo, and then we have Mineral Memory Game, 4x4 Gem Tac-Toe, and there's also playing cards. And so we can use these in quite a few ways. They're actually all really dusty from the rocks, I notice. So here's the Rock Bingo cards, I believe. Okay, so the bingo is on one side, and so I'll just kind of show you. They're all different, different organization of them. On the other side is 4x4 Gem Tac-Toe, and I believe all those ones are the same. So that's two separate games that you can play. The next set, which I haven't even opened, okay, so the playing cards are quite great. They do have, like normal playing cards, we've got the King of Spades, but on each one it has a different rock. And so these, I believe you can play in several different ways. I'd have to look again, but you can use them as, I'm not sure if any of them repeat, but I think that they can also be a matching game. Is that what I just read on there? I forget. Yeah, Mineral Memory Game Instructions. So you would be using these, and so it's like the game of memory where you flip two over and you would find the matches. So there should be duplicates in here. There's a full deck of cards, and they're all, it has information about it, tells what it is, and has an image of different rocks. So that is going to be wonderful. So you can use that as a memory game, or playing cards, or Go Fish you could do, or I'm sure there's many different kind of games that you can come up with those. And then the last two things that came in here are rocks and gemstones. So the first one that I'm going to show you are all of the rocks, and there are different sizes, but as you can see, there are tons of different types of rocks here. Some are polished, some are not, but there are quite a bit in here. So this is great. Even though we've got the Rocks and Minerals kit from the other one, this is great. This is an even larger variety. And so we will definitely use those. I don't want to get them mixed up with the other bag. So it did also come with this other bag of little rocks also, and these ones are all polished. Some are large and some are small. They're all fairly small compared to the other ones though, but these all came in here as well. And so it'll be fun to kind of go through, and I think some of these are to match the rocks with the rocks and minerals with the ones that are on the playing cards. and to see if you can find the matches with that as well. So that'll be great to have a physical, you know, rock or mineral to go along with the picture that has the information on it. So this is wonderful. Now, the only other things that I'm considering purchasing for this unit study that I haven't purchased yet, they're in my cart, I'm still undecided, is a rock tumbler and also a rock like excavation hammer and kit. We live in the desert, we live in Las Vegas, or the Las Vegas area, and so I thought it would be fun to kind of go to one of the surrounding mountains on a hike or something and kind of play around with excavating some of our own rocks. We also have some really great museums. One of them here is the Springs Preserve, and they actually have a whole section in their museum of where you can take in any treasures that you found, whether it be rocks or fossils or, you know, anything like that, and you can trade it for ones that other people have found that they have brought in. And so it's a trading system, and so they have some really good things. And then they also have some things that you can purchase, geodes and things like that. And so we're definitely going to take a field trip to the Springs Preserve this upcoming year during this main lesson block to incorporate that. So I encourage you to definitely check out local museums in your area or different ways that you can incorporate getting out of the house, which is always a plus when you're homeschooling. So those are all of the things that I have to show you for this main lesson block, and I hope that you were able to get some ideas and inspiration for unit study or main lesson block for geology that you might be putting together for your kid. All of the things that I showed you could easily work for any age from kindergarten all the way up through high school. So anyways, thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.